This is the worst thing every American Dad character has ever done, and going alphabetically, let's start with Al Tuttle. As we all know, this goofball is absolutely harmless. Well, except for that time that he was immensely obese and smothered Snot.
Huff, scaredy farts, huh? Don't you start, cause you're gonna get me going.
But as for the worst thing he's ever done, then I guess I have to go for the time that he killed 3 mobsters in season 17's The Book of Fischer. But to be fair, he only did that to save Stan, Steve, and himself. And apart from that incident, Tuttle is totally gentle. Now, if we're going to talk about the worst thing to have happened to Tuttle, then I'll have loads of suggestions, but that's a video for another time.
I baked us all a friendship cake. It's rainbow inside. We don't care about you anymore.
Avery Bullock. Despite being the head of a serious institution like the CIA, Bullock is never really above indulging in some depraved, raunchy fun.
I just met this woman, but I'm already really into it.
Including putting on a virtual suit and going inside the mind of a baby, just so he could suck on some mummy milkers. He's gotten up to a lot of illegal activities, but I think the worst thing he ever did was kill an innocent woman in season 2's 4 Little Words. After going on a blind date with Stan and Francine, Avery and their friend Melina really hit it off, and it actually seemed like it was going to be the start of something very promising. That is until later that night when Melinda approached Bullock from behind. Bullock may have regretted this and blamed it on his CIA training, but that's still not an excuse to kill an innocent woman.
Does Francine have any other single friends? This whole thing with Melinda has made me really horny.
And what's even worse is that he was never held accountable, as Stan covered it up and made Francine believe that she was the one who killed her instead.
I don't remember anything!
That's because you got drunk and blacked out. Again.
And somehow that isn't even the worst thing that Stan has ever done. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's continue the list with Barry Robinson. On the surface, Barry is just a dumb but lovable friend to Steve.
Hey, Steve. Somebody left this on your front porch.
That's a doormat, Barry.
Who's Matt Barry?
But deep down, there's a darkness waiting to get out, and get out it does in season 1's with Friends with Steve. In it, we learn that Barry is dim-witted because he takes aggression suppressive pills.
May I have a glass of water?
Fatty can use the garden hose!
And when Stan gets him to quit taking the pills, we suddenly see a complete personality switch.
You see, your father and I get along quite well. He likes me and I like him.
Evil Barry wastes no time in sabotaging the Smith family, including framing Steve for breaking Stan's prized Franklin mint plate collection.
I think he's dangerous. He told me he's been strangling cats for years.
An act that lands Steve in a youth penal oil rig. This works out perfectly for Barry, who relishes in the chance to take Steve's place and spend more time with Stan. But when Francine starts to come between them, Barry devises an even more sinister plan.
Francine is first on my list to kill.
He buries Francine alive in a coffin in the backyard before then unveiling his evil nature to Stan.
Huh? Barry, what are you... Where's Francine?
Someplace she can't get between us anymore.
And Stan and the rest of the Smith family might have ended up as Barry's murder victims if Steve hadn't returned just in time to save them. By cleverly tricking Barry into taking his medication, Steve manages to revert him back to the harmless kid that we all know and love.
Hey, let's go dig up your mother so she can make us breakfast.
And the only time that evil Barry appeared again was in season 14's Stan and Francine and Connie and Ted. So the worst thing that Barry ever did was bury Francine alive with the intent of killing her. Although, if you ask Barry about this, he probably won't remember. Now, if you want to know the worst thing that has happened to you, yes, you watch this video, then it would be not pre-ordering my book Script to Scream. Not because I'll break your legs or anything, although I'm not entirely ruling that out just yet, but because we've only printed 1,500 copies. So if you want one, you need to pre-order a copy right now before you miss it. It's been the #1 best-selling horror slasher on Amazon for weeks now, so please don't wait and guarantee your copy today. Because look, if you love movies like Scream, 2022's X and Galaxy Quest, then you will love this novel. It's about making a horror movie inside an abandoned theme park. What's not to love? So just search Script to Scream on Amazon or click the link in the pinned comment below. Thank you, and let's now talk about Betty Smith. It has to be said that Stan's mom was a far better parent to him than his deadbeat dad, but still, that doesn't really mean that she's the best mom ever. I mean, when Jack did run out on them, she put the blame on Stan.
Is it my fault?
Stan, look at me. Kind of.
But I think the cruelest thing she ever did to poor Stan was making him put down his beloved dog. Yes, in season 7, Stan's best friend, we learned that growing up, Stan had a pet pooch called Freddy, and after his father left, he and his mum had to move to a new place, and Betty told him that their poor little doggo was sick and so needed to be put down. And instead of taking him to the vets to be put down humanely, she made Stan shoot the dog himself. And mind you, he's only a child here. And the worst part of it is that the dog wasn't even sick. The new apartment complex just didn't allow dogs. For Betty, the right thing would have been to rehome Freddy or take him to a rescue centre. Instead, she forced her son to do something deeply, deeply traumatic. An act that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Billy. If you ask a lot of fans what the worst thing that little Billy has ever done, they'd probably just say existing. I've even made a video exploring his history and why he is considered the most hated character in American Dad. And the truth is that he hasn't really done anything that bad. It's mostly that he's very grotesque looking and his voice is very grating that seems to rub audiences up the wrong way.
Sure, whatever. Lollipop time!
But if I had to pick the worst thing that he's ever done, then I'd say being an accomplice to Dr. Kalgary's devious plan to give Steve leg extension surgery. And maybe that is a bit unfair since it's not entirely clear how involved Billy was supposed to be in the surgery since Stan stopped it just in time, but most likely Billy would have just assisted Kalgary by handing him the tools. Plus, in his mind, he thought he was doing a great thing for Steve. After all, Billy himself was created through a surgery just like this one, so he wouldn't really know any better. But beyond that, his biggest offense is really just sounding quite annoying.
Hey, Billy, Billy, Billy. Hi, Billy. Ho, Billy. Who, Billy? You, Billy. Me, Billy. We, Billy.
Brian Lewis. This principal is the most insane and wild character in American Dad. And that's saying a lot.
End of days, bitches!
And ironically, the worst thing Lewis has done happened long before he started working in education. In season 6's Your Debt, Your Life, Lewis reflects on his time living in Peru, moving coke and working for a drug kingpin, and all the benefits that came from it.
Girls, not women, girls. Little bitty things.
Brian!
So yeah, it turns out that Lewis is no better than Herbert the pervert. This guy shouldn't even be allowed within 50 feet of a school, let alone be its principal. Buckle. Buckle made his series debut in season 2's An Apocalypse to Remember as a mountain man who abandoned society. He lived in isolation, cut off from the outside world, until he stumbled upon the Smiths in the wilderness, who, thanks to Stan, were under a false impression that a nuclear war had begun. But when Stan's family figures out that nothing actually happened, they get ready to go back home, and that's when Buckle started acting super horny towards Hayley. And out of the blue, he tells her that they were meant to repopulate the Earth together.
What are you talking about?
You and me doing it all the time!
He refuses to take no for an answer and tracks her down to her house. And the next day, at Roger and Sherry's wedding, Stan is on edge, worried that Buckle might show up. And the rest of the family doesn't believe him, since he'd already gotten it wrong about the so-called apocalypse. But Stan turns out to be right, and Buckle arrives and attempts to kidnap Hayley, only to be stopped by Stan. And it's at this moment that we finally catch a glimpse of a remorseful side to Buckle.
I never meant your family any harm. It's just, I haven't seen a woman in over a decade and I'm so desperate.
Luckily for Buckle, he's at a wedding where the groom doesn't actually want to get married. He just wanted a new blender. So they knocked out 2 birds with 1 stone, and Buckle and Sherry get married instead. And while it's nice that things worked out for Buckle, that doesn't excuse stalking and attempting to kidnap Hayley. Debbie Hyman. As I explored in my Steve Love Life video, he and Debbie broke up 5 times over the first 4 seasons, and most of those times it was Debbie who ended things. The first time was for unknown reasons, the second time was because Steve pulled off some cruel pranks on her behalf, which we'll get onto later, and the last time was in season 4's bar mitzvah hustle. So while they're out on a date at the mall, Debbie meets Aton.
I'll be blunt, I'm coming on to you, Deborah. It's true, this is what's happening. The matzo balls in your court.
The next day, she tells Steve that Aton asked her to be his date at the bar mitzvah, and she said yes, and then she cuts Steve down with this harsh line.
I'm sorry, but I need a man, not a boy.
I can understand her reasoning behind the other breakups, but this one always rubbed me the wrong way. After everything she and Steve had been through, she immediately chose to be with someone else the moment that a more mature guy showed some interest. Then again, that is teenage relationships for you. It's not that deep. Dr. Kalgary. In his first appearance in season 11's Roots, he's initially a very normal and caring doctor who Steve visits to see if there's anything he can do about his short height. But his demeanor completely changes the moment that Steve mentions Klaus. His accent switches to German and gives Steve a bunch of insane options about getting taller, including taking his soul and putting it into someone taller. Despite his reservations though, Steve decides to let him do the surgery to increase his height. During all of this, the Smith family are distracted over the fate of Stan's childhood tree, but when Klaus tells them what Steve is about to undertake, they are horrified. So when Stan hears about this, he rushes to the hospital, and right before he's about to get put under, Steve says that he's changed his mind, but Kalgary ignores him. And just as he's about to begin, Stan knocks down the hospital walls and stops him just in time. And thank goodness he did, because who knows what Steve would have looked like after the surgery, if he had survived it. Francine Smith. Franny ain't some stereotypical sitcom housewife. She's a psycho killer.
La 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 la. Yeah, I killed my college roommate. I can't believe you didn't know that. I stabbed her.
And during her Fight Club days, she stabbed Becky without any kind of remorse.
You're dead, Becky!
Then there was season 8's Killer Vacation, where she was ready to take out so many innocent people.
Bam, bam, bam! I just killed that waiter, a baby, and a fat guy and a rascal.
Not to mention wanting to shoot her very own daughter.
Bam! Bam! Should have done that a long time ago.
As such, it was really hard to narrow it down to just one thing, because it was a toss-up between her being a serial arsonist, the murders, and being way too close to her son. Like in season 15's Tapped Out, where we find out that she's been secretly feeding Steve her breast milk.
A little? You've got the pump turned all the way up to thirsty, boy!
When Steve discovers this, he's naturally horrified, at least at first. But then he realizes that he can't function without it, thus leading to one of the most disturbing sequences ever in the show.
I need breast milk!
Ring-a-ding-ding.
Like bathing him in her breast milk, spraying it directly into his mouth with a super soaker, and the freakiest of all, breastfeeding him. So yeah, I think I'm going to choose this as the worst thing she's ever done. Sure, murder is obviously worse, but this made me want to bleach my eyes. It's honestly one of the most effed up episodes of American Dad, and that's really saying something. Greg. In season 10's A Boy Named Michael, Greg and Terry adopt a 10-year-old Russian boy. But before that poor kid can even begin his new life, he's ejected from a plane by Roger. You see, Roger wanted to be a part of the sophisticated lifestyle of his neighbours, so he assumed Michael's identity instead. And from Roger's perspective, we see that life in Greg and Terry's household isn't as perfect as it seems, especially with Greg's sky-high expectations for healthy living. So when Greg's away, Terry keeps a secret stash of junk food that he sneaks and shares with the kids. And while he initially seems to adore his adopted son, his patience quickly runs out when Michael doesn't quite fit in.
We were all gonna wear skinny jeans and no shirts for our Christmas photo, but now it's ruined. It's all ruined.
All the while, both Roger and Terry feel like they have to kill one another for reasons we'll get into later. Then Greg received a phone call from his husband saying that Michael had been drowned in an accident. And in what should have been a very devastating moment for him, Greg shockingly seemed very okay with it.
He was never gonna fit in at Dartmouth. He didn't fit into the skinny jeans. He didn't fit in.
Greg's cold-blooded response to the death of who he thinks was his adopted son is stunning, to say the least. And it's not just a response to the accident that's terrible, but it's also creating this very strict lifestyle for his family. Gwen. Francine's adopted sister is a convicted criminal who constantly drags Francine into her messes. She lies to her probation officer about living with the Smiths, uses her house to sell fake cell phones, and even sells human organs.
Is this my cooler? My sandwich was in here.
My sandwich.
And when she goes to sell one of the organs, she steals a bunch of money, and Francine is almost killed as a result. She even tries to burn down the school to frame Francine, but she's stopped at the last minute. In the end, the sisters reconcile and confess their love for each other, before then accidentally setting the school on fire together. To be fair though, the reason why Gwen went down such a dark path in the first place is because when they were kids, Francine set the school on fire, and Gwen took the blame for it. Hayley Smith. Just like her mother, Hayley is also a murderer. In season 3's Hayley's, she shot her dad and he was technically dead for 6 whole minutes. But the biggest difference though was that Hayley was brainwashed and didn't even seem to remember doing it. As a lefty liberal, Hayley is the conscience of the family and usually strives to do the right thing, but some of her actions show that she's more like her dad than she'd really care to admit. And nowhere is that more clear than in season 2's American Dream Factory. In this episode, Hayley starts going out with an undocumented immigrant called Paco, who Stan predictably hates at first. But he starts to like him when he sees that he's really great at sewing. So Stan hires Paco and his family to start a business making holiday-themed teddy bears. Ironically, the man who can't stand illegal immigrants ends up running an underground sweatshop. But when Paco struggles to balance things between his work and his relationship with Hayley, Stan steps in and tells him to break up with her. And let's just say that Hayley doesn't take the breakup too well.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you will be sorry.
You would figure that Hayley would understand his situation and want to confront her father about this, but instead she just wants to get back at Paco. Later on, Agent Hopkins from the INS arrives at the house and says that they've got an anonymous report claiming that they're harboring illegal aliens. And after not finding them upon their initial search, we soon find out who sent that message.
Why don't you check the basement, officers?
That's right, the one character who would understand the plight of an immigrant is more than willing to get Paco and his family deported. But luckily, the basement was cleaned of any proof of a sweatshop as Paco and his family moved their business into the backyard pool. At least Hayley would go on to learn her lesson and become aware of her hypocrisy, eventually helping smuggle the family to West Virginia. But what makes this stand out as probably the worst thing that she's ever done is go against everything she claims to be.
I used Paco to get at you, then tried to throw him away by calling INS.
You heartless bitch!
It's a damning exposure of her left-leaning personality being a complete facade. Someone who could be willing to ruin a man's life and his family's life because he decided not to go out with her anymore. Jack Smith. Stan's father walked on him when he was just a kid, leaving him with some serious abandonment issues. But honestly, I'd say that his father might have done him a favor by leaving, because when he was around, he was just terrible.
Are you here to tuck me in?
Get an imaginary friend to tuck you in.
Jack's idea of giving his son the talk was to sleep with a hooker right in front of him.
Oh, Christ! Oh, looks like we struck oil. Hand me your blankie.
Ugh. And as messed up as Stan already is, I honestly think that if Jack had stuck around, Stan would be even worse today. Jeff Fischer. This pothead might be the most lovable character in American Dad, but that doesn't mean that he's totally innocent. Because just like his in-laws, he's not above murder. In season 14's Jeff and the Dang-Cass Weed Factory, Tommy Tokes hides 4 golden rolling papers inside packs of his blunt wraps. And Jeff finds one.
Oh my god, I won! I'm going to Tommy Tokes' factory!
Jeff's allowed to bring one friend and Stan begs him to go because the CIA wants to get their hands on the legendary everlasting edible. Inside of the factory, they meet Tommy Tokes himself and his Snooper Loompas.
Don't be dumb and use your eyes. You can't make weed into office supplies.
And just like in Willy Wonka, the other winners take themselves out one by one. Until only Jeff and Stan are left, but before Jeff can claim the factory, the Loompas reveal that Stan stole the everlasting edible, so they take him away and plan to turn him into one of the Snooper Loompas.
I created the Snooper Loompas, not with my penis and my sperms, but with this machine.
Jeff saves him just in time and the two try to escape the factory, but they end up trapped inside of a hotbox room, cornered with nowhere to go. So Jeff cranked the high all the way up and brutally killed 4 Loompas.
I mean, man, you took this to a really, really dark place.
And sure, he only did it to save himself and Stan, but still, watching the walls get painted with purple Loompa guts is pretty gruesome. And it just shows that Jeff isn't as innocent as he appears. Klaus Heisler. Although Klaus is only an honorary member of the Smith family, he too shares their murderous tendencies, because he once bragged about how he spent a summer traveling through Italy stabbing students.
You know, after university, I traveled to Italy, stabbing students.
He also sang a song about killing 3 teenagers.
I killed 3 teenagers.
Don't tell anyone.
And while all of that is very horrific, I have to go with the time that he became a diabolical dictator in season 17's Beyond the Alcove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Klaus. And it all started out so innocently when Francine hosted a dinner, but Klaus hijacks it by becoming the life of the party, and this really gets under Francine's skin.
He monopolized every conversation I tried to butt into!
Francine can't stand it. All of a sudden, everyone likes the goldfish. Klaus explains that people have started liking him because he's been following a strict lifestyle regimen developed by Mark Wahlberg. She tries to follow the lifestyle herself, but it doesn't make much difference. And when she goes to return Klaus's self-help book, she accidentally discovers his secret lair hidden behind the alcove. And that's when she realizes that Klaus hasn't changed at all, as he reveals that all along he's been making people like him using a technique called hypnotic anchoring. Basically, he uses a bell to get everyone under his control. Klaus has managed to get everyone else under his spell, but his biggest challenge is Francine, and just as he finally gains control of her, Roger sneaks her out of Langley Falls. 2 months pass, and when she and Roger return, they find that the town is completely under Klaus's rule, with every citizen worshipping him.
Be careful, Franny. People might think you don't love Klaus.
Who doesn't love Klaus?
Francine Smith.
Roger!
When Francine is exposed as a non-Klaus worshipper, she escapes underground from the brainwashed mob. Luckily, she ran into Parker down there, who has also resisted Klaus's mind control. He reveals to her that the deactivation phrase is,
"Enough with the hypnotism already."
It's a good one. Fiendishly simple.
She frees her family from Klaus's control and leads them to a secret alcove, ready to finally put an end to his reign. But as it turns out, her family actually respects Klaus and the way he was able to brainwash them, and they actually still love Klaus. So Francine shows everyone something that will remind them how truly lame he is.
On this episode, I'm at the Hard Rock Casino, alone on my birthday. The way I've learned to like it.
And as it turns out, all it took was this humiliating, sad podcast for everyone to realize that Klaus was never cool after all. So yeah, the fact that he put an entire town under his spell, making every thought they have revolve around worshipping him, is pretty messed up. Mah Mah and Mah Mah Ling. Francine's adopted parents haven't really done anything that bad, but the only thing I can think of is when Baba broke the TV during Thanksgiving football.
I try to make picture better. Ay-ya, picture better before.
And as for Mama, when Jeff was lost in space, she tried to set Hayley up with a boy called Big Wang. Which is sweet until she fell for Big Wang herself.
Big Wang by too good for Hayley, but not too good for Mama.
And when he comes by for dinner, she stuffs his whole fist into her mouth. And mind you, this is right in front of her husband. And when she shoots her shot, she's rejected in her best holiday wig.
Everyone's waiting to eat dessert and is very embarrassed for you.
Nicholas and Cassandra Dawson. The reason why little Franny ended up with the Lings is because her birth parents abandoned her as a baby, just so they could fly first class.
Oh, thank God. For a moment there, I thought we were going to have a problem.
Need I say more? Roger. Now, where do I even begin here? It could be argued that no character in animated history has done more terrible things than the Smiths' resident alien. I could just say that the worst thing he ever did was all the awful crimes that he did under the Ricky Spanish disguise.
Ricky Spanish.
But even that raises a dilemma. Was that something we can say that Roger did, or did Ricky Spanish do it? After all, when Roger finds the Spanish outfit, he doesn't remember any of the horrible deeds he did in that persona. So, what about the time where he tried to kill his own family just because they took part in a roast that he himself organised? Or that time where he skinned Jeff and wore his freaking skin?
Great, you hate it. Hey Jeff, good news, you're getting your skin back.
He also caused an apocalypse and unleashed his 200 murderous variants onto the world. But technically, that was all an accident.
I apologize, everyone. I'm the one who ended the world.
But out of all of the insane things he's ever done, I think the worst one was in Season 7's Virtual Insanity. This is where he killed 5 men, all over $20. Roger's bloodlust starts from an unexpected place when he steals a limo and starts a chauffeur business with Klaus, and when he's driving around, he spots a group of party bros having a good time, and just for $20, Roger drives them back home. However, they're definitely not as courteous to him as he is to them.
Oh, you put it right next to my face. That's so funny. Oh, you farted too. You guys are so much fun.
When he arrives at the guy's fraternity house and asks for his payment, they pull a drive and dash and ditch him. And instead of forgetting about the $20 or finding other customers, Roger goes to very extreme lengths to get even.
You're really gonna kill 5 people over $20?
Are you really asking that to the guy who just last week killed 6 people over $19?
Okay, so the worst thing he ever did was kill 6 people over $19. But let's just stick to what we've seen on the actual show, not to mention that his actions go way beyond just killing 5 men. Next, we see Roger crash his first victim's funeral and run over 2 more of the frat bros, all while their family and friends watch in disbelief. And what's darkly hilarious is that Klaus is right there witnessing Roger commit these gruesome murders, and he's just shocked and horrified by Roger's cold-blooded precision as we are. His next victim is terrified and freaking out at a bowling alley and tries to calm down in the bathroom, but even in the small confines of a public restroom, he is definitely not safe as Roger rams into him. His 5th and final victim packs up and takes a flight out of town, and just when he thinks he's safe, he looks out of the window and sees that the limo is on the plane's wing. And so Roger drives it right into the plane, causing it to explode and kill every single person on board. In summary, 5 frat bros and about 100 or so people on that plane died because Roger got stiffed out of $20. And when he gets crossed, he goes completely over the top to get even. Collateral damage be damned. So next time folks, remember to pay your drivers. Now let's move on to Roger's baby, Rogu. He might be very small and very cute, but Rogu takes after his murderous daddy, even adopting his most evil persona. And although he almost killed Stan here, I'm gonna go with the time that he shot a bunch of ranchers in the D.
That's Rogu. He loves shooting people in the nuts. He's not wrong, it's funny.
This is of course in season 16's Klaus and Rogu in Thank God for Loose Rocks. So at the Smiths' annual trip to the Octopole J-Dude Ranch, Klaus gets jealous that Rogu is stealing all the ranch's attention, so he frames Rogu for the disappearance of their mascot donkey Tequila Joe. But since it's clear that Klaus set him up, the ranch sends both of them out together to retrieve the donkey. And that's where Rogu shows how reliable he is by saving Klaus's life multiple times. But just when Rogu falls down a mineshaft and needs Klaus's help, he turns on him.
Klaus not help Rogu?
No, I'm betraying you.
That's a pretty awful thing for Klaus to do, but at least he feels remorse later on and confesses to Roger what happened. But Roger of course bluntly tells him that he should have just killed him.
Rogu is coming for you.
Rogu's already here?
And so Rogu returns to the ranch with a vengeance and grabs everyone's attention by shooting a bunch of ranchers in the nuts. Klaus realizes that he has to confront Rogu alone and apologizes for his selfish actions.
Mean a lot to Rogu that you learned lesson.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Before you die.
It seems like Klaus is doomed until he saves Rogu from a mountain lion, so at least the two made up and can exist in the Smith family together.
I'm so happy you two managed to work things out without anyone getting hurt.
Mom, all those ranch dudes got shot in the dick.
Yep, ouch. I know Rogu was trying to send a message to Klaus that he means some serious business, but did he have to go that far? Reginald Koala. Reggie's stint in American Dad was very short. As such, there isn't too much to choose from in terms of the worst thing that he's ever done. And sure, we could criticize him for shrinking Hayley's shirt in the laundry, but I think his worst offense came in his last major appearance. This was in season 6's Gorilla in the Mist. As spring break approaches, Reggie invites Stan and his CIA buddies to hang out at his houseboat at the weekend. On their boat trip, Stan has to bring Steve along after he skipped school. And Steve steals the show with a long, hilarious joke involving a purple hat that has everyone in stitches.
Purple hat!
But everyone was too distracted to notice that the boat was about to crash into another one. And since it's Reggie's boat, he's the one who gets arrested.
They got me, y'all. Watch my boat.
We don't know the details of this boating accident and how many injuries or possible casualties there actually were, but this crash at least destroyed a pretty big and expensive boat that put several women in danger. And since it's Reggie's boat, the fault lies with him. Snot. Snot or Shmooly Lonstein might be your typical harmless teenage nerd, but there's one very terrible thing he did, or at least almost did. As I previously told in my Steve Smith Love Life video, Season 9 Steve and Snot's testicular adventure is one of the most uncomfortable episodes in the entire series. So, since Steve and Snot can't find anyone to go to prom with, they decide to take DNA samples from 2 random girls and clone them so they'll have dates, and therefore get laid. But the only problem is that when the clones are created, they come out as newborns. Put into a very awkward predicament, Steve and Snot decide to raise the girls themselves. They soon realise that the clones age rapidly and will actually be their age in time for prom.
And after prom?
So yeah, Steve and Snot are basically grooming these girls to lose their virginity to them. But to their credit, when it's actually prom night, Steve and Snot realise how they can't bang their adopted daughters. And that sounds alright until Snot takes Steve's daughter behind his back with the intention of sleeping with her.
You didn't say I couldn't plow yours!
Now, Glitter may have not been Snot's quote-unquote daughter since he was more focused on raising Honey, but still, it doesn't make it any better, as he's known Glitter since she was just an infant. Thankfully, Steve makes it just in time to stop the two of them before they go through with it in the prom limo. And I guess Snot did get a bit of karma for his actions, since in the post-credit scene, he's utterly devastated when finding the corpse of his quote-unquote daughter Honey. And remember when I said earlier that Franny was a bit of a psycho? Well, look at her here. Her cold, hard reaction. Savage. Stan Smith. Besides Roger, Stan Smith is probably one of the hardest characters to pin down when it comes to the worst thing he's ever done, because he's done a lot of messed up stuff. He's kind of like Peter Griffin in a way, but while Peter thrives on chaos like the Joker, Stan is more like a Lex Luthor kind of guy. He does terrible things, but always in the name of his own principles and beliefs, such as attempting to take away Greg and Terry's baby, applying his xenophobia to his Arab neighbours by automatically believing them to be terrorists, forcing his neighbours to be evicted when he overhears them gossiping about him, and as already discussed, taking advantage of illegal immigrants by making them work in his own personal sweatshop. That's not to mention the time that he bullied his own son and when he kidnapped his mother's boyfriends and stranded them all on an island. But I think the absolute worst thing he's ever done was in Season 6's White Rice, where we learn that he's been wiping his wife's mind for the past 20 years, making her forget about every single bad thing he's done, including the time where he didn't get both of their twins vaccinated and Bailey died as a result. Making your wife forget that she had a child is just so insanely dark. Again, with Stan, it's hard putting a stamp on the very worst thing he's ever done because there's so many horrible things to pick from. So if you disagree, then put your choice down in the comments. Steve Smith. You could say the worst thing he did, as discussed, was sucking on his mother's bosom, because that just ain't right.
I like milk. It's my thing. And I'll never ever stop drinking it.
But then I also thought about the time where he got revenge on Lisa and her friends after thinking that they said something bad about Debbie, because he had a buffalo dump all over Amy, filled Janet's leg during her liposuction, and most disgusting of all, gave Lisa herpes by taking her teddy bear and giving it to a prostitute. But you know what, I'd say the ultimate worst thing he ever did was in Season 12's Witch of Langley. In it, Steve steals a book about witchcraft from Roger, and as he flips through it, he finds the cure to cancer, and the bastard tears it up. Then Steve starts learning all about blood magic and uses spells to get revenge on people at school. He becomes completely consumed by power, turning a bully into a zombie slave and even feeding himself through the poor guy like a baby bird. During a music festival, Steve explodes an innocent person's head, then turns another guy into a frog before then killing him. And if his friends hadn't have stopped him, Steve would have turned the entire town into mindless slaves. Terry. Some may say the worst thing this co-anger has ever done was leave Greg and his daughter to follow the band 311 on tour. But as bad as ditching your family is, that was nothing compared to what he did in Season 10's A Boy Named Michael. I've already touched on this episode with Roger becoming their adopted son, but to cut a long story short, on a car ride to their lake house, Greg tells Terry that he found a ho-ho wrapper and thinks Michael was the one eating it. And Terry's convinced that if their newly adopted son reveals the truth, he'll lose everything.
I have no choice. Before they can talk, I have to kill Michael.
Keep in mind, Terry has no idea that Roger is also trying to kill him at the same time.
I clearly have no choice. I I have to kill Terry.
In his mind, he feels that he has to kill an innocent boy just because the child might confess that he ate some junk food. So Terry takes his son on a boat in the middle of the lake, and Terry reveals his true intentions. After struggling with their paddle, Terry knocks Roger off the boat and immediately tells his husband that Michael has died. In Terry's mind, he believes he has killed his 10-year-old adopted son, and he's oddly calm about it.
Weird. So Terry thinks he killed you and it doesn't faze him at all?
Toshi Yoshida. Out of everyone in Steve's friendship group, Toshi has done probably the least amount of bad things, since he's mostly just along for the ride. But there was that time where he tried to kill Steve for keeping his sister Akiko out trick-or-treating for too long. When Steve and Akiko discover that Toshi is onto them, they escape to a water cave, but that doesn't hold him off for too long, as he makes a very dramatic entrance and is ready to slice Steve in half with a real katana. Toshi chases Steve all the way to a party where Steve makes his plea that being an overprotective brother is only driving him and his sister apart, and if he doesn't loosen his kung fu grip on Akiko, then he'll end up losing her forever. And to his credit, Toshi quickly realizes the error of his ways. Now, it's one thing to be an overprotective brother, but it's totally insane for Toshi to want to kill one of his best friends just because they stayed out a bit too late. But he still manages to satisfy his bloodlust by gruesomely slicing apart a bunch of murderous psychos, and in doing so, he saved Stan and Francine's lives, so he's kind of a hero. And there you have it, that is the worst thing every prominent American dad character has ever done. Are there any terrible deeds that you think someone did that was worse than the one I selected? If so, let me know in the comments below, and I might just change my mind.